Oh, I saw him back to doing his college events that he announces like 1 hour before he goes live. Steven Crowder has changed my mind today. The left is violent. Also, are we not like aware that people can take pictures of your cell phone screen? This was humiliating. I saw this. Holy f. This is apparently shows the Treasury Secretary reading a text from the Agriculture Secretary. Is this finally just a heads up? I'm getting more intel, but this is highly unfortunate. We bailed out Argentina yesterday, and something. Oh, and in return, the Argentines removed their export tariffs on grains, reducing their price, and sold a bunch of soybeans to China at a time when we would normally be selling to China. Soy prices dropping further because of it. This gives China more leverage on us on a plane, but Scott, I can call you when I land something. But yeah, so fucking stupid. Our government is so incompetent right now. In parentheses, it's Besant. Art of the deal. So fucking retarded. Are we shutting down the government? I think it's today. Is it supposed to happen today? 12:01 a.m. based. I'm going to follow up that last guy. Maybe tomorrow. I hate these conversations. I feel like I've had these conversations so many times. Okay. Jesus.
We allowed in here, y'all?
Destiny made you.
Good?
Sorry. What is this?
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is visiting the White House as we are talking today. He addressed the UN General Assembly here just a few days ago in New York. Now, the International Criminal Court has a warrant out for his address. They say that they accuse him of crimes against humanity. You have called, as I mentioned, Netanyahu's actions in Gaza genocide. It's going to become not just a rhetorical, but a question rooted in reality if you are mayor. As mayor of New York, you will oversee the next UN General Assembly, right, if you're mayor. Will you abide by the International Criminal Court? Will you have Prime Minister Netanyahu arrested if he's here?
Look, I've said time and time again that this is a city that believes in international law. This is a city whose values are ones that deserve to actually be reflected in our commitments. And I think that our city should uphold the warrants the International Criminal Court issues, whether it be for Benjamin Netanyahu or Vladimir Putin. And also, I am not Donald Trump. I will follow the laws as they are, as opposed to bend them to my own will. So we will pursue every legal avenue to ensure that that accountability is present. And the reason for that is that the context we are speaking about, this is a man who has orchestrated a genocide that has killed one Palestinian child every hour for close to 2 years. This is someone whose conduct I hear about from New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs. And they come to me with a horror at what they have witnessed. And for some New Yorkers, a horror as to what they have lost. There was a Palestinian New Yorker who spoke to me about losing 85 members.
Is like New York City going to be a signatory to the Rome Statute? I don't even know how you would do this, but I don't know, whatever.
The problem is, for Ezra Klein...
What is this? Oh, Hassan gets confronted by Destiny fan. Oh, this is so retarded. Oh, these were Hassan links from a while ago. What is this?
The problem is, for Ezra Klein and for numerous other power players within the Democratic Party, the expansion of the tent only goes in the rightward direction. They do not want to expand the tent, even from the rightward direction, with considerations of the economic harm that all Americans are...
Okay, he's retarded. I don't care.
9 in 10 young...
Breaking. Judge William Young, a Reagan appointee, delivers the most scathing legal rebuke of the Trump era, ruling that Trump and his cabinet illegally targeted pro-Palestinian students for deportation to strike fear into First Amendment protesters. Conclusion: for all these reasons, this court finds this fact and concludes as a matter of law that Secretaries Noem and Rubio and their several agents and subordinates acted in concert to misuse the sweeping powers of their respective offices to target non-citizen pro-Palestinians for deportation, primarily on account of their First Amendment protected political speech. They did so in order to strike fear into similarly situated non-citizen pro-Palestinian individuals, proactively and effectively curbing lawful pro-Palestinian speech and intentionally denying such individuals, including the plaintiffs here, the freedom of speech that is their right. Moreover, the effect of these targeted deportation proceedings continues unconstitutionally to chill freedom of speech to this day. What level court is this? Open the court docket. Look at the header. Does this I don't know I did that. I don't have the docket here. Atheist versus Christian versus spiritual thinker. 3 hours and 21 minutes. What the fuck? Did you see this statement by Mr. Evil?
Of the Democrat Party when they have a 33% favorability rating. About the state of the Democrat Party when they have a 33% favorability rating on average in recent months, and they're willing to shut down the government over healthcare.
They are shutting it down. We're not shutting it down. We don't want it to shut down because we have the greatest period of time ever. I told you we have $17 trillion being invested. So the last person that wants it shut down is us. Now, with that being said, we can do things during the shutdown that are irreversible, that are bad for them and irreversible by them, like cutting vast numbers of people out, cutting things that they like, cutting programs that they like. And you all know Russell Vought. He's become very popular recently because he can trim the budget to a level that you couldn't do any other way. So they're taking a risk by having a shutdown because of the shutdown, we can do things medically and other ways, including benefits. We can cut large numbers of people out. We don't want to do that, but we don't want fraud, waste, and
like, would you talk like this if you really thought you could get away with this during a shutdown? Wouldn't you then just welcome the shutdown?
Abuse. And, we're cutting that. But they want to have illegal aliens come into our country and get massive health care at the cost to everybody else, and we don't have it. And that's I would say, the number one reason that they want to strike is to get illegal immigrants health care. And, Gavin Newsom wants that, too, in California, and it's destroying California. We can't have that. We're not going to let it happen.
It's retarded. No one is asking for this. He's just a fucking loser. What is this?
Is that you and I did cross paths once before, and as a matter of discretion, I never talked about it, but you actually decided to talk about it on your show, and I just wanted to play that clip briefly of where you described our interaction. Do you have that clip?
Glenn Greenwald. Hey, Glenn Greenwald. Excuse me, brah. You excuse Glenn Greenwald passes by me. He's in this is a gay club, by the way. Don't ask me why I'm there. This is a gay club because Glenn Greenwald's here. Don't ask me why I'm there. I'm there to kill everyone. I'm kidding. Kidding. It's a joke. Whoops.
So you did request several times. Don't ask me why I was there. I've always deferred to that. Since you're a guest tonight, I'm going to continue that policy.
Epic. Glenn Greenwald. Good one.
Doing the same thing.
Did Trump end neoliberalism?
No, neoliberalism ended long before Trump.
When did it end?
Well, it ended in the financial crisis, really.
2008.
I think that it was these neoliberal free market principles that led to the financial crisis. And everybody at that point began to realize, if the state doesn't step in and regulate, you're going to have more of these crises. And so the move away from neoliberalism, I think, really began there. That's the point also, that people were really aware of the increasing inequality in the United States in terms of income and wealth, and that was also going to become politically destabilizing. And then, you had a big academic literature.
Wait. I'm a little behind, but what's up with the TNM guy? How can you not understand what Destiny's saying? He's completely wrong too. No, I mean, I understand where he's coming from. I think one problem that a lot of people just haven't accepted yet, but it's getting to be more accepted. I think people just don't realize how far gone the GOP is. Like, I think people look at the current media environment and they think it's not as intentional as it is. Like the Republicans, and I'm trying to wake people up to this, once you see it, you can't unsee it, like how in sync they are and how coordinated they are from top to bottom on all their messaging constantly and consistently and for every single fucking issue. I think that once you start to wake up to this a little bit, I think you start to see, because it looks like, okay, well, this is just like somebody tweeted a bad thing and they're responding to it, or somebody did this and they're responding. No, it is way more coordinated and way more intentionally crafted than I think a lot of people are seeing it as.
About the effect of, China's entry into the WTO and the way that globalization, this is one of these kind of, in retrospect, very annoying things, because when I taught at SAIS at Johns Hopkins, we indoctrinated everybody into free trade, liberal economics, that was the way to go. And at that time, all of the economists said, well, okay, so not everybody is better off under a free trade system. Some workers lose out, their jobs go to Mexico or China.
Manufacturing.
Yeah, manufacturing, but we can always compensate them. We can retrain them. And that's the part that never happened, right? And that's why I think people are legitimately angry about, the results of free trade. And I think, I don't know of very many economists that won't admit now that that was a really big problem.
Right.
That they had been advocates for a kind of ruthless kind of free trade that made a lot of empty promises to the workers that were going to be hurt by it. And the society never, followed through on those promises. And so I think that process started really a lot earlier than Donald Trump.
So I find that very interesting because the theoretical proofs, the scholarship at the time, said that if we move manufacturing elsewhere, maybe American wages go down, but the goods get so cheap that everyone's living standards go up, right? And that was, you run all these theorems, that was the macroeconomic consensus. Was that ever true? Was that a lie? Was that a piece of propaganda?
Well, no, it was obviously true because you had Walmart where you could buy stuff really cheaply and any worker could do that. But, the question, it's more of a value question, I would say, that if the consequence of having all these cheap consumer goods available is that a very significant part of the middle class basically falls into poverty or into opioid, addiction and, all of the social ills that go with this kind of downward social mobility, is that a price that is worth it? Right. And I think a lot of people have decided in retrospect it wasn't, that there's a certain dignity to work, even if it's not the most efficient, even if you could do the same work in another country for a lot less, people still want to have pride in what they do in their communities, and therefore it's legitimate for the government to protect this. And by the way, in different countries, they didn't go in for this kind of neoliberalism to the same extent. So one thing that's very noticeable, if you go to either Japan or France, which are the two countries I think about in this regard, there's a lot of little restaurants, mom and pop shops. There's still a lot of kind of small business retailers. The downtowns haven't emptied out into these big box stores. And this is all deliberate, it was protectionism, because I think that in those societies, people realize that we have a certain way of life and we don't want to disrupt that way of life, even if the Americans have this efficient system where everybody, just goes to Amazon or goes to, Walmart or something. And so I do think that there are alternative ways of, dealing with the social side that reflected, a different set of values that was conservative in the sense that we don't want to disrupt and undermine, our existing society more radically than we have to. Doing the same thing.
Did Trump end neoliberalism?
I don't think I necessarily disagree. I don't know why you listen to this. What is this?
Last several months, you've maintained the zenness. Like, you're not frothing at the mouth in anger, but like you are becoming increasingly provocative in a way which I really like. Like, this is almost like Mockler ungloved. This is Mockler, off the chain. So is that a deliberate choice, or are you just getting fed up with the current state of affairs? Why are you more provocative now than you were in terms of making these really salient points?
I think that we can't let Republicans have a monopoly on this escalatory rhetoric at all times. We can't let Trump and then Stephen Miller and then everyone from the top down all using this escalatory rhetoric, and then every time we try to either match it or say something that we think, they freak the hell out. At some point, we have to match them, and they have to understand that when we get back into power, if we get back into power, hopefully, that we will have, fingers crossed, that we will have leverage that we can use against them. That, I mean, what Destiny said was true. Republicans do need to be worried about what happens when Democrats get back into power. I don't think they should fear for their safety. But I think when they see the FCC being weaponized, Ted Cruz was like, hey, this is a slippery slope. When we see Comey being gone after Donald Trump asked Pam Bondi to do that, that's a slippery slope as well. So Republicans need to understand that everything they're doing now can come back to bite them. I know they think Democrats already did this, but we can't let them have a monopoly on all of this. We need to match them, and then we can together tone it down. Or we just keep getting dogged on as Republicans escalate and Democrats are too scared to match the energy.
Well, listen, you're preaching to the choir here, because this is something I used to say this to Destiny. I've said this to so many others as well, which is that if you're going to have a system of norms, by definition, it needs to be reciprocal, right? You can't have a situation like civility, political civility. I love the way
ICE terrorizes Chicago, brutalizes protesters in gruesome scene.
Michigan. See you in Nevada. People.
They haven't done like a huge deployment to Chicago, right? This is just ICE doing shit. Ben Shapiro on Piers Morgan. Oh, God. Wait, 12 days ago.
Brian Shapiro. I was sickened by what happened to Charlie Kirk. Let's just.
Brian Shapiro.
I hope we can all agree it was sickening. Although I had Destiny on the other night who couldn't bring himself to condemn it because Donald Trump hadn't said the right thing for him, which I think is a lamentable piece of moral cowardice. So let me just start by asking you, I presume you condemn and were horrified by what happened to Charlie Kirk?
Absolutely. I was on the air, Piers, when it all happened. I got emotional. The first thing I thought about were his kids and his family. This is not only bad for Charlie Kirk, obviously, and bad for his family. It's bad for America. And I also feel for everybody that was traumatized, that was there that day, that had to see that. Now, with that being said, of course, I didn't agree with basically anything that Charlie Kirk stands for. But with that being said, anybody that's celebrating his death, I think that's despicable and it's disgusting. And I've called that out, and I've been very consistent on my opinions since day one. If there's one thing that me and Charlie Kirk certainly agreed on, it's civil discourse and having political debate. I enjoy doing this show, Piers, and I enjoy having respectful discussions with people that I disagree with. So this is a horrible, horrible situation. We can never condone political violence, no matter what side of the aisle it comes from.
Why have so many people on the far left, the woke left, been so brazen in their gleeful celebration of what happened to Charlie Kirk?
There it is, the next
Well,
line.
my response to that, number one, is I'm not on the far left, so I certainly don't speak for them, but there's people on both sides of the aisle. I know Republicans don't want to hear that, but there are crazy lunatics on both sides of the aisle that celebrate really horrible things that happen to people in America. I don't agree with them. And if you're on the far left or the far right and you celebrate anybody getting murdered, then there's something wrong with you. And I don't feel bad for any of those people that were fired for celebrating his death. I think it's disgusting. Now, if you're just talking about him and saying, well, he wasn't a good guy, here's why I didn't like him, here are some of his quotes that he said in the past, I don't think you should be fired for that. I think there's a way to call out political violence and say Charlie Kirk didn't deserve this. I feel for his family, but I didn't like Charlie Kirk and I didn't like what he stood for. I think you could make both points respectfully.
Okay, look, I've been pointed out to me that you've posted some messages about Charlie Kirk on your Instagram, which we're going to show here. One is a post that's a parody of a Jubilee debate. I'm doing one of these myself soon, titled Charlie Kirk versus Bullet. Can one bullet to the neck outsmart one conservative? Well, that was a short watch.
Guys.
Number two is a mocked up promotion poster called Kirk and Twerk at Neck of the Woods and hashtag both of the hashtag Charlie Kirk. Do you find this funny?
Well, let me just say that I actually am a big advocate for dark humor, and I happen to have gotten a bit of a taste of that over the last, I don't know, maybe decade or so when it came to the right and their memes of George Floyd, happy birthday being sober for 5 years. When it came to their memes of Breonna Taylor, when it came to their memes of Trayvon Martin, the Trayvon challenge, right? When it came to their memes of Tamir Rice. So I don't know what the issue is. I think I'm engaging in the freedom of speech that the right has been advocating for.
Hang on there. Hang on there. Hang on. Do two wrongs make a right? May
for these last 10 years and mocking and making light of Black death, something that Charlie Kirk himself did time and time again. As a matter of fact, I would argue that if Charlie Kirk, instead of focusing his time on Black culture and Black on Black crime, if he had spent a modicum of his time focusing on the white youth, that perhaps he would still be with us today.
Are you pleased he's dead?
No, absolutely not.
How did you feel about it?
I don't think.
How did you feel about it?
We said no. Well, but how did you feel about it? Did you cry? Wait, did Piers ask me that question or was that somewhere else? Did he ask me that on a show? It's like, did you cry when Trump won? It's like, what the fuck? Are you gay? Are you okay? What kind of question is that? What?
His murder.
How do I feel about his murder?
Yeah.
Well, I think a quote by a great author sums up the sentiment of millions of Americans around the world. And that is, some cause happiness wherever they go. Others when they go. And I think that's a sentiment that is palpable amongst many Americans around the world due to the hate and vitriol and bile that Charlie Kirk sowed. So I think there was a
just to be clear,
just to be clear. Were you sad?
Then you are happy he died.
No, I don't think as far as happiness is an emotion that
you literally just read me a quote which implies you're happy. You talked about some people's death bring happiness.
The purpose of the quote was to say that there are some people who have caused harm and death and turmoil to other groups of people, such as Charlie Kirk, whether it's Black people, whether it's trans people.
No, I heard the quote.
Just
to be clear, you said that the quote ends in that their death brings happiness, but you've denied that you were happy. And when you tell me a quote
don't disagree.
When you tell me a quote like that, I presume from that quote you're implying that actually you are happy he died because he deserved it. He had it coming.
Jesus.
No,
Christ.
not at all. I don't think those are ever words that I've ever mentioned verbatim ever. I think there is a sentiment that when someone who lives their life in evil and wickedness, according to the scripture, the power of life and death is in your tongue. And the hate and the bile and the venom that he spewed, I don't know what to tell you. As the scripture says, as he professed, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. I think his focus should have been on a community that, clearly is in problem. I find it interesting that there's more scrutiny on people who may make memes that they've done of George Floyd and other Black victims than on the white male youth that did this tragedy, as some would call it.
Why would you be offended about the memes to people like George Floyd, which I found contemptible at the time, if they're the same ones that you're talking about? Why would you profess to be offended by those if you're quite happy to do the same kind of thing yourself?
I think the point that I'm making by the means that I'm putting out, which clearly has caused outrage and triggering, I find it a bit hypocritical that the people for years who said fuck your feelings are now overwhelmed with feelings at the moment. But the point that I was making was to point out the hypocrisy that the right has on a variety and myriad of issues, as we just saw with Pam Bondi on the freedom of speech. I think the issue is that they have scapegoated people like Pam Bondi for what is the crime of Donald Trump. The same thing they did with Anthony Fauci. We saw this when it came to the Second Amendment. They banned bump stock ban. They had a bump stock ban under Donald Trump while they were fear-mongering about Biden take away your guns. But as we saw, there was no outrage, there was no protest, and we come to find out that it was unconstitutional. So I think this hypocrisy is ubiquitous within the right, and I think my memes expose that hypocrisy.
And what about your own personal humanity? I mean, hashtagging his widow in a mocked-up promotion poster of Kirk and Twerk at Neck of the Woods. How do you justify targeting? Oh, hang on. How do you justify targeting his widow?
I think that's a bit disingenuous to use such hyperbolic language as targeting. I think it's more of a...
This is like the fucking... I hate it. Dude, this is so cringe.
Right, with no equipment, no rope.
Like, I feel like it's literally this...
Don't tell me you don't know how to do.
Like, this whole fucking conversation.
A strategic plan of attack to get
What
the
about
message
this
out to more
tweet?
people. When we saw Erica Kirk,
what
she
about
had a
this
moment
thing?
to-
What about that
to speak for
quote?
unity
What about
within
your
the country.
humanity?
Left and
What
right.
about your
And she chose to
sadness?
fundraise. She then chose to use the scripture and talk, very nicely.
It's
up
just,
for,
like, so
past
fucking
husbands. And I
ridiculous.
understand that. But by that same token, there are people who were absolutely harmed by the rhetoric that Charlie Kirk put out, and that rhetoric actually codified in many cases in many states. So I think it's abhorrent and actually perverse to expect people who are harmed by his rhetoric, harmed by someone who had anti-black, anti anyone who wasn't white and Christian in his perspective. I think it's perverse to try and criticize those people or try and make them seem as if they're the bad guys when that's
yeah, but
really
see,
not
funny
the
enough,
case.
I can look at what you've done, and I can see somebody who is abhorrent and despicable and actually evil, actually, the stuff.
Like, wow, if only he had those words for literally anybody on the other side at all, ever. This guy just did the full cuck 80. He spun around and did the full cuck 80 and still got smacked at the end.
When you target someone's widow as she grieves
Once
and
again, I
tries to protect
disagree
her
with
two
the word
children.
targeting.
No,
I think
I'm talking about me. I'm talking about me personally, my view of what you've done. I don't care about your motivation in terms of other people's inappropriate memes, many of which I may well agree with you about. But that doesn't mean that I then go and do it myself or worse, because that makes me even more inhuman and abhorrent. And by your definition,
I disagree. I think
evil. I know you disagree. I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you. I know. I'm just telling you. I know. Hang on.
They have to see.
I'll let you have your
I think
say.
I'm a mirror
I'll let you have
of
your
what
say.
they have shown.
I'll let you have your
And if they
say.
don't like what they
I'm
see,
telling you.
they should actually
Fine.
detour
I'm
from their
using your
wicked
own.
path
I'm using your own
and show
justification
compassion.
to tell you what I think of you and what you've done. Right? That's my free speech at work. Let me bring in Gillian Michaels. I mean, Gillian, look. You know, I saw Brian there nodding to some of what he was hearing there, not all, to be clear, but nodding to some of it about the hypocrisy which Lucas claims he is exposing with this stuff. What is your view of what he's said? It's not just how the news is told, but what's left out, which concerns me. He's dealing here.
Hurt.
Piers.
I find this exceptionally sad because, Lucas, you talk about how hurt you were and how offended you were by such despicable things, and then you became the thing that you found the most repulsive, which is alarming, and as I mentioned, deeply saddening. I would be more...
Timestamp if you're disavowing a Piers show, but he lies about it anyway.
I don't want anybody in this country to die to political violence. I don't think in the United States of America that should be happening. I don't know why it's so hard for the president to say the same. I think it'd be the easiest thing in the world as president. Biden did it for 4 years. That's why everything was way cooler when he was here, like in terms of temperature. The Clintons have no problem saying it. Barack Obama has no problem saying it. Kamala Harris has come out and said it. Every Democratic lawmaker and leader has basically come out and said it. But for some reason on the Republican side, it's just civil war, civil war, civil war. And the Republican president of the United States, who has presided over more violence politically in this country, more large protests than any president in all of U.S. history, for some reason can't bring himself to say, all of us need to calm down. And
So
it's
did
gonna
Trump
happen.
deserve the
There's no
bullet?
reason I'm allowed to say it.
Did Trump
This is-
deserve the
wait,
bullet?
This is all you care about are the political hate
Just
jobs.
answer the
It's
question,
absolutely insane
bro.
to me.
Did Trump deserve the bullet?
Did Donald
Did he
Trump
deserve the
violence
bullet?
on his side ever? Did Donald Trump
Answer the
violence on his
question.
side
Did
ever?
Trump deserve the bullet?
You can't answer the question. We're here to play.
No, bro,
contested
it's my
fight.
turn to
Tweets
ask
and
the
YouTube
question.
video
It's your
clips.
turn to answer.
It's
Did
YouTube video
Trump deserve
clips,
the
and
bullet?
Did Trump deserve violence in this country ever?
Did he deserve the bullet? Yes, he's
Answer my
justified
question,
violence.
I'll answer you.
But again, I just did. Now your turn. Now your turn. It's your turn. Did Trump deserve the bullet?
I never said that. No, I never said that. No.
Okay, except you did to your co-host.
No,
You
I didn't.
said-
Oh, wait, when did
your
Donald Trump
exact
deserve-
words-
wait, when did
your-
Donald Trump
Your
deserve
exact
violence
words
in
to your
this country?
co-host, you lying sack of shit. If he
When you're putting violence in this country, and so it'll continue.
But
There'll be more
Destiny,
deaths.
Destiny,
There'll be me at the next
Destiny,
one. There'll be more
Destiny,
people die.
Destiny,
And I'm going to turn around and be like, I can't believe it.
Destiny,
What's happening here?
Okay, Destiny, if you care so much about political violence in America, why don't you lead the way yourself without
can't,
mentioning
because
anybody
one
else?
side-
Why don't
because
you?
one side-
Why don't you, Destiny, right now, just outright condemn the murder of Charlie Kirk?
Because we've been doing that for a decade. One side can't,
You can't do
turn
it,
down
can you?
the temperature.
You can't
The other
do
side
it.
can't turn down the temperature. If Donald Trump can't, then the left
I
should.
literally just said, like, what, condemn the death? I just said no political violence is good. Like, what comes? So if I say yes, I condemn it here. What's next? Do you feel sad about it? Did your heart break? Would it be the next question that he asked the next dude?
Until he.
This is retarded. Yeah. Oh.
More than happy to litigate some of
And then he brings on these right-leaning ghouls to sit here and chastise these guys on the left for it, to be the punching bags. Fuck that.
Charlie's positions for you. I abjectly...
I don't think I need
on
any
its
litigation
face-
from a woman who tried to downplay slavery, who tried to all lives matter slavery after
wanna
she
discuss
purchased
that?
a black child. That's what I would
Purchased a
argue.
black child.
I don't think you need to as far as
Would you like
litigate
to
anything.
discuss it?
Okay.
Because the reality of the situation is that what I gave you, whether you like it or not, is a fact from the 1860 census. And
It
the point
literally
is
is not a fact.
downplay
It is
slavery.
actually a bastardization of actual history.
You're
what you
wrong.
cited
We can
was
discuss it.
inaccurate. You can actually look it up. I don't know if you did. Before.
I actually
doubt you
did
do your
look
due
it up.
diligence. You clearly did not.
Would you
Because
like to
in that
discuss
study
it?
that you're citing, in the study that I'm discussing it right now, in the study that you're citing, it takes into account not only the slaves, it takes into account the northern states and the southern states. So to try and pay to get that
agency wrong. And
that's what I think is
Let me
hateful.
jump in here,
I think
Lucas.
actually downplays
Let me jump in
slavery.
here, Lucas.
That's
it
literally what you did.
seems to me, Lucas, you've decided to be just as offensive as you want to be. You're now attacking people who adopt children, which is one of the most selfless things that any human being could do, actually.
This is literally what
But
the right did to Dave Rubin, is
fine,
it not?
Fine, but
Yeah,
what you're
they did.
doing is just trying to be as offensive as possible whilst masquerading under this umbrella of everybody else is offensive, so that's why I'm doing it, to expose all the hypocrisy.
Like, do you see the false equivalence? The difference is this guy probably doesn't care if people adopt children. It's probably a good thing. The right legitimately fucking hated Dave Rubin and his husband for adopting 2 kids.
Gillian is right. Gillian is right.
What
But
I'm
actually,
merely trying
you
to
have
do
descended.
is create
You
a
have,
better
the
world.
way you've
What
just
I'm
gone
trying to
after
do is to
Gillian.
unify
You know what,
people.
Lucas?
The
Stop
only way we
talking.
can unify people
Stop
is for
talking.
people to understand the
Stop
harms that they've
talking.
done.
You have targeted Gillian for adopting a child. That is despicable. Let me bring in
I
Riley Gaines.
targeted Jillian for adopting a black child after she downplayed slavery, which I think is contradictory.
You attacked her for adopting a child.
I mean, let's not misconstrue my words that I'm saying.
Oh, I heard your words. Let me bring in Riley.
You're misinterpreting
Let me
it.
bring in Riley Gaines here.
Sure, buddy.
Riley, you've been waiting patiently.
Great rebuttal, Jillian.
Okay, can you please let the others speak, please? Okay.
I wasn't actually allowed to talk, Lucas, but I'm more than happy actually to have you on my podcast.
That's because anything
and
comes
we
out of your
can,
mouth
we
is
can,
backlit.
we can discuss all of it.
All right, let me bring in
But
Riley.
if you'd like to come on my podcast, I would be more than happy to do a
Okay, that's a
platform.
different podcast for a different
More
time.
than willing to have discourse.
Okay,
just
you know
to honor
what?
Charlie Kirk,
If you're
to
willing
be
for
honest.
discourse, let Riley Gaines speak. Riley, what is your view of what you've been hearing?
I mean, honestly, like, it makes me feel tearful. Like, I have experienced all of the emotions over the past week. It has been, to the day, 7 days. I think initially starting with total shock and disbelief and honestly confusion. I've been so blessed in my life to not have been surrounded by death much in my family. I haven't lost really anyone close to me. Charlie was a friend, a mentor of mine. He's who ultimately I attribute to giving me my voice, the platform that I have. I attribute that to Turning Point USA, to Charlie Kirk. So to lose a friend like that, like, I have gone through all the emotions, but to sit here today and listen to the discussions that we have seen, I think particularly from Lucas, whether it was about the memes that were posted, whether it was about Jillian adopting a black child. I mean, I am just like in total disbelief, disarray. How have we reached a point where these are the discussions that we're having and on a national stage here? Like, we
How have we
Democratic elected
reached a point when Donald Trump is the most like aggressive, mean-spirited?
Doing Change My Mind, where there were 12 felonious assaults attempted.
What did he say to Crowder? Wasn't he mean to Crowder when Crowder was talking about like we need to be violent, or was he not?
Battery and attempts on my life, and I know quite a few, and many I don't, of Charlie Kirk. I want to be clear. I want those on the left to speak freely and to be able to host their events with minimal security as they do now for the rest of their lives. Just as surely, I want them to be deathly terrified of showing up and acting with the increasing violence as they have at our events. And that goes both ways. Hey, if there's a spat of right-wing violence that's spreading across this country, treat those people the same way that we treat yours. But you won't find it. And let me just address a couple of things. What I think leads to violence. They'll try and blame it on Donald Trump. They'll give us a bunch of reasons. Let me be really clear here. Joe Walsh will say that this is an overreaction. He said that yesterday. He doesn't understand why this is a big deal. That's untrue. He will say that statistically more violence comes from the right. That's provably untrue. He's been stating for days that the shooter was in fact not a leftist, and we didn't know. That's provably untrue. He will create a false equivalency between Charlie Kirk and the murder of the Hortmans in Minnesota. That's provably untrue. And finally, he will place blame, as the left and the spineless right does, for all of this on Donald Trump, conservatives, rising figures, and the rhetoric for temperatures in this country. That is provably untrue. Donald Trump ran on Law and Order and won because of leftist violence. All of this, let me finish with this. All of this is by design so that the left and spineless right can make this conversation about conservatives responding to the cold-blooded terroristic assassination and gleeful celebration thereafter of a young man who did nothing more than sit down at a table and allow anyone to speak their opinion. And I know what it's like because I was in that spot. I started it, and Charlie cited it as inspiration. If I could change one thing, and I do believe that I'm partially responsible for this, I failed people. I've had to do a lot of soul searching. When I did Change My Mind, I started in 2016. The idea was, hey, calling the left on their bluff, civil dialogue with anyone to the tune of billions of plays and hundreds of microphone. I don't know.
I feel your anger. I feel your hurt.
Sitting down at a table and allowing anyone with a thought or opinion to discuss it rationally, would that bring down the temperature? Because they took his life anyway.
Listen, I know you knew Charlie Kirk well. I feel your passion. I feel your anger. I feel your hurt. It's a painful time. I think everybody on the conservative right in America, it's a very painful time. And I feel that. But in the interest of fair play, which Charlie Kirk would want, we have got the former Republican congressman and the host of Social Contract, Joe Walsh, joining the debate. Exactly what Charlie would encourage, I think, which is, Joe, you've just heard a very uncensored.
Is this where he gives in the first minute here, where he gives the unhinged thing of like, we need to stop being charitable and use as much violence as possible? Hold on.
As you know, a lot of people believed you were advocating for a violent response. You clarified that now. And people are saying, is that a sincere clarification or have you just calmed down?
It wasn't a clarification. It was a repeat. And I stand by it. I am advocating for lawful, maybe let me clarify, ruthless violence in defense of us and our own. If you give me 1.5 minutes, I can make it extra crystal clear if we need to. What you're seeing with Charlie Kirk is what got through. Charlie Kirk lived under a cloud just as I have. It's the reason that I stopped doing Change My Mind, where there were 12 felonious assaults, attempts at battery, and attempts on my life, and I know quite a few, and many I don't, of Charlie Kirk. I want to be clear. I want those on the left to speak freely and to be able to host their events with minimal security as they do now for the rest of their lives. Just as surely, I want them to be deathly terrified of showing up and acting with the increasing violence as they have at our events. And that goes both ways. Hey, if there's a spat of right-wing...
No problems. Good memes. This is what the one lady said about slavery.
Smithsonian. He's effectively now has some
on into the Smithsonian. He's effectively now has some random person deciding what is appropriate for the Smithsonian to teach in terms of American history, things that don't offend parts of the MAGA base, right? So we're now literally reviewing parts of American history and parts of American culture to make sure it comports with Dear Leader and what the MAGA
Can we address some of those things that are in there? Because have you looked at some of the things that are being reviewed?
Yeah, slavery was a bad thing to talk about.
Okay,
Like,
he's not whitewashing slavery. So he's not. No, he's not. And you can't tie imperialism and racism and slavery to just one race, which is pretty much what every single exhibit does. But let's talk about the fact that when you look at slavery, let's talk about the fact that
slavery in America was.
Do you realize that only less than 2% of white Americans own slaves?
It was a system of white supremacy.
You realize that slavery is thousands of years old? Do you know who was the first race to try to end slavery? Well, what's controversial?
I'm very surprised that you're trying to I'm really surprised. Do you realize, Jillian, I'm surprised that you're trying to litigate who was the beneficiary of slavery and
I'm
who
not.
was not.
What I'm trying to tell you is that
in the context of American history, in the context of American history, what are you saying is incorrect by saying that it was white people oppressing black people?
Every single thing is like, oh, no, this is all because white people bad. And that's just not the truth. Like, for example, every single exhibit, I have a list of every single one. Like, people that migrated from Cuba because white people bad. Not because of past. Yes, no, it's in there. That's what I'm saying. You don't actually know what's in there. Do you know that when you walk in the front door, the first thing you see is a gay flag?
Jillian, you have a lot of stuff done.
Yeah, I do,
What
because
exactly
because here's the
are
thing.
you talking about?
Okay, I'll give you an example.
Yeah, please.
There's one called Change Your Game, right? This has been an installation there. Is gender testing fair in sports? Does that, and then it goes on to talk about how it's complex to do gender testing in sports. It's not complex. It's basic science. That's untrue. It's XX chromosome, XY chromosome. That's sports. Is it fair to have biological men
Wait, what does that have to do with the race slavery thing?
competing against biological women in sports? No, but why is this in the Smithsonian? So it's been completely captured.
First of all, I don't.
And it's totally partisan.
First of all, we don't have time to litigate
Of
all of
course
this.
we don't, because then you're going to lose the argument. And if everything is racialized, just like you're trying to do to me now.
Excuse
It's
me.
like, I can't believe you're trying to suggest, that
just
slavery
to be
is a
clear,
good thing.
you brought up race.
No,
This was a conversation about the arts, and you brought up race.
It isn't,
You
though.
brought up.
But the whole
hold
point
on,
of this is
Jillian.
that the issue
you
people
brought
take-
up. You brought up slavery, and you brought up the
Actually,
question of whether.
you
hold on.
did.
You brought up
And
the
my
question of
point-
whether or not slavery in the United States is about race. The answer is
No, I
yes.
didn't. I did
Slavery
not
in
say
the
that.
United
No,
States
don't
is
straw man
about
my argument,
race.
because that's not what I said.
So what are
She
you
brought
talking
up
about?
slavery. And what I was talking about is that this isn't really about that. When you make every single exhibit about white imperialism when it isn't relevant at all, that is a problem. So when you're talking about Cubans leaving Cuba and you make it about white people bad, that's not accurate.
Can I just say something
That's
else?
my point.
On this- on the- I would say on the arts thing, I think why this is
I can't have a strong opinion on this because I don't know what the underlying exhibits or whatever were. Like sometimes people are cringe on that. I just have no idea. Nice ad, thank you. Can't see. Michigan church shooter was Marine veteran who White House official says hated people of the Mormon faith. Is this true? New details are emerging Monday about the gunman in a fatal attack on the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Michigan. Thomas Jake Sanford, 40, drove his vehicle through the front doors of the church and fired multiple rounds from an assault rifle during Sunday services, authorities said. Sanford also apparently used gas to start a fire at the church, officials said. Grand Blanc Police Chief William Rain said officers were on the scene within 30 seconds after a 911 call and fatally shot Sanford, who killed 4 people and injured 8 more. Sanford served in the U.S. Marines from 2004 to 2008. He's an Iraq war vet. White House spokesperson Caroline Leavitt said on Fox Monday morning that FBI Director Kash Patel told her Sanford hated people of the Mormon faith. From what I understand, based on my conversations with the FBI Director, all they know right now is this was an individual who hated people of the Mormon faith, and they are trying to understand more about this, how premeditated it was, how much planning went into it, whether he left a note. Damn. He said Sanford told him that the church's followers believe they're above Jesus. John said Sanford told him he moved to Utah for a fresh start to plow snow, and that while he was there, he started a relationship with a Latter-day Saints woman. Johns recalled Sanford telling him, they wanted me to get rid of my tattoos, they wanted me to do all this stuff, and I wouldn't do it. Everyone, this is Pastor Mark Driscoll, a wolf in sheep's clothing. He is a hypocrite and a liar. Even with the death of innocents, he cannot separate his bigotry from his faith. In his mind, divorces the Mormons from the... Who is this? What is this? Supposedly, the shooter followed this guy on Facebook. There will be 0 Mormons in heaven. It is a demonic cult. A literal demon is on the top of every Mormon building. Jesus. The assassin was a Mormon. This is not the same as Christianity. It is a demonic cult. Mormonism's Jesus is no closer to the Christ of the Bible than Islam's Jesus is. The murder of innocent people is evil, no matter if they're Jewish, Muslim, Mormon, or Christian. Speaking about Charlie Kirk. Damn.
Well, this morning, houses of worship on alert after a gunman rammed his car into a packed church in Michigan, shooting at the worshipers and then setting the building on fire.
So at least 4 are dead in the attack, and law enforcement feared that the death toll could grow.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt joins us now to react from the.
I feel like when a religious person calls someone demonic, it should be taken with a different weight than when you call someone demonic, for example. Am I right? Maybe. The thing is, it's hard to tell how religious some religious people are, though, right? Like, some religious people will use demonic metaphorically. Some might use it seriously. I don't know. It's hard to say.
The White House. Caroline, we all watched this in horror yesterday. Is there anything that you've been briefed with that could move this story forward to find out what the motive might have been?
Well, first of all, I want to express our sincere condolences to the victims and their families and all of the members of this church who were gathering on a Sunday in the United States of America to worship Jesus Christ. And a crazed gunman rammed his truck into the church and started firing at these innocent Americans. And our hearts break. The president was very quick to put out a statement completely condemning this and assuring the American people that the FBI is on the scene. And I spoke with our FBI director, Kash Patel, bright and early this morning. He assured me and the American public that the FBI is currently executing multiple search warrants at the residences and the family homes of this perpetrator to try to get to the bottom of why he would commit such an act of evil. And the FBI is working with both state and local law enforcement, providing the full support of the federal government. And I just want to commend state and local law enforcement for their swift and incredible response. Local police officers were on the ground of this scene within minutes and neutralized this shooter, no doubt saving lives. And they should be commended. Our police officers are heroes, and this president will always respect them and support them.
They definitely were. They were there in 32 seconds, Caroline. What did the FBI director tell you about the shooter? What do we know?
What we know at this point in time is that he was a member of this Michigan community, that he is a veteran of our United States Armed Forces. He served in the United States Marine Corps in Iraq. His family is cooperating with the FBI, and so they are currently trying to dig in and get to the bottom of why he committed. There's just this heinous act of violence. It's unfathomable. And as the president rightfully put,
listen to the framing on all of this.
Of this Michigan community.
Shooter, what do we know?
What we know at this point in time is that he was a member of this Michigan community, that he
Member of a Michigan community, okay.
is a veteran of our United States Armed Forces.
Veteran of the military.
He serves in the United States Marine Corps in Iraq.
Marine Corps in Iraq.
His family is cooperating with the FBI, and so they are currently trying to dig in and get to the bottom of why he committed. There's just this heinous act of violence. It's
There's heinous act of violence.
Unfathomable. And as the president
Unfathomable. We have no clue why. Nothing, right? Notice the unwillingness to speculate on any of this. But on the Charlie Kirk shooter, immediately it was a leftist. Immediately we knew why he did it. And then after digging and digging and digging, now it's, oh, he had a trans roommate. Maybe. That's definitely why he was radicalized. Definitely why he did it, right? Immediately we know the answer there. But on this, absolutely no speculation.
Put in his Truth Social yesterday, this appears to be yet another targeted attack on Christians. And the Trump administration is fully committed to not only investigating these crimes, but prosecuting them to the fullest extent of the law.
Also, do most people consider Mormons Christians? I mean, they are technically, but they also have like their own book, right? No, yes, depends, no. My ex-Mormon friend said yes. Very religious Christians don't consider them Christians.
but also working very hard to prevent them, to see if there's red flags. The FBI is going to treat those as public safety emergencies and investigate them to try to prevent such violence from taking place in our country.
You know, Caroline, we had the assassination of Charlie Kirk. We had the attempted assassination on ICE officers in my hometown.
I like how they framed was it 3 immigrants that were killed, or was it 1 killed and 3 shot or whatever? I like how they just frame that as they just talk about that as like an attempted assassination of ICE agents. They don't mention the fact that who actually died.
Back there along with Bobby and
what is this stupid shit?
Down, you have to do layoffs. So
more executive orders. Wow.
Hook up the artificial intelligence with all of the other things that we have at hand, that we're going to come for answers. And these young children who are just really, some are absolutely better and others are getting better. You're all going to be better versa. So they won't even need it, I don't believe. I want to thank Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who we see a lot of lately. You've been really active. It's been very active. Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, is so fantastic. And I guess we reached a deal with Harvard today, so we'll see how that, all you have to do is paper it, right, Linda? Just paper it out. It'll be great, though. It's going to have to do with something that's very important to everybody. CMS Administrator Mehmet Oz, FDA Commissioner Marty McCary, Director of the National Institute of Health, Jay Bhattacharya. Is that good, Jay? That's pretty good, right? I'm getting better. I'm getting better. Science and Technology Advisor, Michael Kratsios. AI and Crypto Czar, David Sachs. You're doing great, David. As well as a friend of mine, Stephanie McMahon, and her incredible husband, Triple H. You all know Triple H. I'm not going to fight that guy. He's one of the greatest. I also want to thank all of the brave young people who are with us today. And they've gone through a lot, but it's really coming out very good. And I just gave them a beautiful coin. And we're going to save that coin, right? Beautiful coin. In 2019, I was proud to launch the Childhood Cancer Data Initiative. And I think Stephanie was a big factor, right, Linda? She was a big factor in what we're doing right now. Absolutely. Which invested $50 million a year into pediatric cancer research. And today, in line with recommendations made by Secretary Kennedy and the MAHA Commission, we're doubling that investment, adding another $50 million to Childhood Cancer Data Initiative. We're doing that immediately. And we have a lot of money coming in with the tariffs. We've never had money like this coming in. We're a rich country again. We were a dead country 1 year ago, and now we're the richest country. We're hot. We're a hot country. So it's an honor to do that. In honor of all of you, we're doing that, okay? With this order, I'm also directing the federal government to fully utilize artificial intelligence to supercharge pediatric cancer research. It's pretty amazing what's happening. For years, we've been amassing data about childhood cancer, but until now, we've been unable to fully exploit this trove of information and apply it to practical medicine. Using cutting-edge AI, we will empower scientists and researchers to discover new treatments, cures, and prevention strategies. AI can also make groundbreaking trials and therapies, and it's just going to be so accessible to everybody, families all across the country. So it's going to be amazing. What's happening is amazing. And we have more AI. We're leading in AI. We're leading China by a lot. We're leading everybody by a lot. They're creating their own energy. We let them build their own energy plant because we don't have the energy. Nobody does to feed them. The amount of energy just the AI needs coming into this country is double what we have right now.
Wow.
So we're letting them go out and create their own energy plants and their own electricity. And they're doing it. We're giving them permits to build electric plants. They're becoming sort of a utility. Maybe they'll do better with being a utility. Who knows? They'll do better with being a utility than they will being AI. What do you think of the chances that I hope I'm wrong about that, or they made a bad bet, right? So anyway, but I want to just say that we're going to defeat childhood cancer once and for all. And I'd like to ask Stephanie to say a few words. She's a very special person and very, very much involved in this. Thank you very much, Steph.
My mother's my
That's right.
Well, Mr. President, thank you very much. You've already acknowledged this incredible team here, and all of these people standing behind me were inspired by the story of a little boy named Connor Mahalik. He was a little boy who didn't want to hug me because he gave chokeout hugs. He booed his favorite nurse when she came to give his chemo, and he always worried about his dad because his dad was Connor's best friend. Connor was a WWE fan who I met after one of our big events, the Royal Rumble. You could tell he was sick. He had a big scar that was running up the back of his neck and a lump on his head, but you would never know it from his personality. He told me about the t-shirt that he was wearing that was dragging on the ground because WWE superstar Sheamus, who's 6'5", had given it to him. Underneath that was his Daniel Bryan t-shirt, and underneath that was his Skylanders t-shirt because that was his favorite toy. And as I stood up from my aforementioned chokeout hug, Connor's dad told me that he didn't have long to live. And I didn't want to believe that. I kissed him goodbye on his soft little cheek, and when he looked back at me, I made an unspoken promise to fight for him and kids just like him. Kids shouldn't even know what cancer is, let alone have to face it, and this incredible team believes that too. This executive order makes kids with cancer the first focus of AI innovation across healthcare in America. If there's one thing in the world that could bring us together, please let it be our children. Because I can almost guarantee, if your child was diagnosed with cancer, you wouldn't care what party their doctor belonged to, you would just want the best. And President Trump is doing just that, enabling that every child with cancer gets the best care possible. And we couldn't be more grateful.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. So she's done that before, hasn't she? Bobby, please.
Today, President Trump signed an executive order that makes an historic promise. We will harness America's innovation in artificial intelligence to find cures for pediatric cancer. We stand here today because of Stephanie McMahon-Levack, never wavered in her 11-year commitment to give every child a future free of cancer. She proves how one person's courage can change what is possible. Cancer is now the leading cause of chronic disease-related death in children, and its incidence has risen by more than 40% since 1975. We cannot accept that. We must act with urgency. The MAHA strategy report released earlier this month directs HHS to focus on research that harnesses AI to uncover causes, identify risks early, and take action in childhood and young adulthood to prevent cancer. Now, this executive order directs...
Thank God we're finally using AI research. That's what we need. Thank you.
The MAHA Commission, working with our nation's top science and technology leaders to deploy AI to transform cancer care and research. We will accelerate progress in the Childhood Cancer Data Initiative that President Trump launched in 2019, and that means building stronger data systems, using AI to decode complex biology, designing better clinical trials that deliver faster, more effective treatment for kids. The order doubles federal investment in the Child Cancer Data Initiative with an additional $50 million just this year. NIH will expand research while the private sector and universities will bring their best tools to the table. Together, we will ensure that every innovation, every breakthrough goes to work for our children. The order guarantees that AI will be integrated into HHS interoperability networks. We will make electronic health records and claims data work for patients and researchers. We're already doing that, and always with parents in control of their child's health information. No family should have to fight cancer with outdated tools or without access to the very best science. For too long, families have fought childhood cancer while our systems lag behind. President Trump, thank you for your leadership in changing all that. This executive order is about action, unlocking cures, empowering families, and giving every child the chance to grow up healthy and strong. With American innovation and leadership, we can make our children healthy again.
Bobby, do they know why this, quite an increase that's taken place over the last number of years? Do they know why that, do they have any idea why this
We are doing that research, and Jay Bhattacharya can talk about that. We're doing that research now for the first time. We're focusing on that, in particular colon cancers and these cancers that never affected children before. And suddenly are epidemic in our children, and we're going to find the causes. They're environmental.
What are these cancers? I like how everything ties back to this like retarded conspiratorial view on the world. These cancers that never, ever, ever affected kids, and now they're magically murdering kids. Is this even true? What about I thought the leukemia survival rates were like at unprecedented highs now for children. Are there other cancers?
Causes. Or can identify them and work to eliminate them.
Thanks, Bobby. Jay, go ahead, please.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thank President Trump for signing this historic executive order directing your administration to use advanced artificial intelligence technologies to cure childhood cancer. By signing this executive order, the administration is advancing the NIH Childhood Cancer Data Initiative's coordinated pediatric, adolescent, and young adult rare cancer, first launched under President Trump's direction in 2019. When I was a young medical student in the 1990s, I had the privilege of spending a month in a pediatric cancer ward treating children with cancer. And I have to say it was the most difficult month of my life. I left for home every day in tears. Watching little children cope with a deadly disease is hard. They should be playing with their friends, going to school, living their best lives. But instead, they bravely face cancer. These are the bravest kids I've ever met. I have tremendous admiration for the scientists who devote their lives to finding cures for kids with cancer, the doctors and nurses who take care of them, and for the parents who suffer alongside them, care for them, and love them. This year, nearly 9,500 children will be diagnosed with cancer in the U.S. In the mid-1970s, the 5-year survival for cancer was 58%. Today, the cancer survival rate for children with cancer is 85%. This is because of...
Oh, yeah. So doesn't that kind of super contradict? Wait, what the fuck? Wait, what? This guy just said there were all these new childhood cancers murdering children everywhere. Yeah, the childhood cancer survival rates have increased dramatically.
The tremendous investments we've made in treating childhood cancer and researching it. And it's worth celebrating this achievement. But I say that 85% is still too low. We need to be at 100. We still have a long way to go. The treatments these little kids undergo involve therapies like chemo, radiation, that put them through hell. Even with 85% will be cured, the therapies themselves can cause health problems as kids age into adulthood. Nearly 60% of cancer survivors experience severe life-threatening complications in adulthood because of these treatments. And so we need better treatments so that we can raise the survival rate and reduce the side effects. This initiative builds on the CCDI's mission to gather data from every child, adolescent, and young adult diagnosed with cancer, no matter where they receive care. It aims to develop a platform of tools to bring together clinical care, research tools like molecular characterization and genetic information, tools that will improve preventive measures, treatment, quality of life, survival for childhood cancer. By uniting families, clinicians, and researchers, by harnessing the power of AI, CCDI will accelerate diagnosis, inform treatment, and develop the next generation of life-saving therapies. This is not about collecting data alone. It's about giving families hope. Today, we commit to taking this work to the next level. With this executive order that President Trump is signing, we're building a future where every child's data contributes to faster diagnosis. Artificial intelligence helps us uncover faster, more precise treatments, improve quality of life, and better survival.
God, AI. How's my NVIDIA stock after this announcement? Jesus, everything is AI. Yes.
And finally, let me extend my sincere congratulations and gratitude to President Trump for his leadership and vision in giving us this opportunity to make America healthy again, to rigorously push the boundaries of science and bring hope to millions of families.
Thank you very much, Jay. It's very nice. Appreciate it. Director Grazias, please.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Secretary Kennedy, for your leadership on this issue. I am thrilled that our MAHA strategy prioritizes utilizing AI in the fight against cancer, and this executive order is putting a priority to this action. Thank you for your commitment, Mr. President, to the United States for maintaining its global leadership in artificial intelligence across models, data sets, applications, and to issue an AI action plan to do just that. Your foresight in the first term, leading you to establish the CCDI to gather, harness, and share data on childhood cancers, has positioned us today to leverage AI in a way we could never imagine before. With America's pioneering models, American researchers now have the best tools in the world to turn the CCDI.
DeepMind won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry last year for AlphaFold. Why dismiss AI use for medicine? Who the fuck is dismissing AI use for medicine? No one in the medical field is looking to Donald fucking Trump or the retarded US White House for guidance on using AI in research. I imagine there's probably a ton of different implementations and implications for AI when it comes to research. I'm sure researchers are already utilizing it. Nobody's waiting for Donald retarded fucking Trumpo to make the decision to allow people to do it more.
data into the building blocks of life-changing breakthroughs. So I and my team at OSDP are thrilled to partner with our teams at HHS and NIH and with David to empower the development of gold standard applications for the pediatric cancer research and to play our very small part in trying to protect the health and happiness of America's children.
Thank you very much, President. David, please.
Thank you, sir. Well, first of all, I just want to thank Stephanie McMahon and all of us for helping to bring us all together here. For years, they played villains on TV, but they're actually very nice people in real life. But it's because of your passion that we're all here today, so thank you for that. And thank you, Mr. President, for your leadership on this. First of all, you did have the foresight to create this childhood cancer database way back in 2019, and that's what was going to power the AI. It's going to give us the data to find all the patterns in. The other thing you've done is you've made it your policy of this administration to support innovation, support infrastructure, support energy.
Thank God.
Because of that, we have an AI boom going on right now. 4.8% growth rate in the last quarter in GDP, and a big part of that's because of the AI boom that you've unleashed. So thank you, sir, for doing that. And I think that we can see today that this AI boom is not just going to be about dollars and cents, but about saving lives as well. We're going to get some miraculous cures out of this. So thank you to everyone who's here today.
Thank you.
We just had a meeting, and Oz was at the meeting and really was a dominant factor along with Bobby. And maybe you could just say a couple of words about our past meeting where we're going to be lowering drug prices by 50, 100, 200, even 500%, even 1,000. We have 1,000.
How has nobody corrected him on this stupid percentage thing? Is he really that surrounded by sycophants that nobody will say, hey, Trump, when you say lowering prices, giving percentages that are like over 100 doesn't really make sense there, Chief? Like nobody's taken the time to tell this to him, or...
Also, we have one coming up next week, a big one, 1,000% reduction in price. Do you want to give just a couple of words on that?
This is my president. Oh, my God.
It's a historic day. For the first time, we've had the magnitude of give from the pharmaceutical industry. One of their leading lights, Alfred Boula and his company Pfizer, agreed. Something the president has been pushing on since his first term, and has been calling me quite frequently on speed dial over this term to make sure that Secretary Kennedy and I would seriously engage industry. They have agreed to several important concessions. First, we will have most favored nation drug pricing in this country for everyone on Medicaid. So our most vulnerable populations will not be forced to pay 3 times or more, 5, 6, 7 times more for the exact same pills in the same bottles as it costs in other countries. That'll make it a lot easier for governors to manage their budgets and shows, again, a distinct passion that the president has for helping people who are most vulnerable. We've also gotten all new drugs to be released in this country to be priced at most favored nation, which means by the end of the president's term, 95% of all pharmaceutical drugs in America will be at most favored nation pricing. Again, no more discrepancies between what folks in other countries can buy their drugs for and what's being purchased in this country. Pfizer also agreed, as will companies next week when they come to visit this same White House, to onshore drugs to bring their production back into America so American workers will benefit as well. But at the same time, this is critical. It allowed Pfizer, and we believe for other pharmaceutical companies, to maintain their innovative edge. We want America to continue to find cures like the ones that saved the lives of some of the children that I'm looking at right now. Those beautiful faces and smiles are here because American innovation was not dulled, not blunted. But we can solve that need and thread the needle by also making healthcare affordable so Americans no longer, including children like this, be forced to make a difficult choice between groceries and pharmaceuticals. And I must say, Mr. President, since this morning, if you just look at the stock market, there's been support of this decision made by the CEO of Pfizer. Their stock has benefited. So I think it's the right thing for the company, the right thing for the policies of this administration, which is a pretty cool place to work. But most importantly, it's the right thing for the American people.
Thank you very much. And maybe we'll just finish it off with Linda because she's been such an incredible cabinet member and done such a good job. Maybe you want to say something about your unbelievable daughter and son-in-law because they worked very hard on this.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, for the opportunity to do that. I don't think that any mother could be any more proud of all of the efforts that Stephanie's made in support also of Paul. Stephanie first talked about this 10 or 11 years ago after Lil Connor. And I remember one of the things that she said to me was, I really would like to somehow convene the people and the scientists who think outside of the box, because research is done in very standard terms. You do this, and yes, you have to do that. But she said, I really would like to tap into some of the most creative and inventive minds in the country to be able to look at research differently for pediatric cancer. And she did that. It took her about 10 years, and she kept tapping in and calling people, being pretty relentless about it, driven herself by a mother's heart. And I couldn't be any more proud of the work she's done. I'm happy to stand by and be a supportive mom and be very proud of her today.
Thanks. Good job you're doing. Thank you very much, Linda. Okay, any questions, please?
Mr. President, as we inch closer to a government shutdown this morning, you said you might do a lot of layoffs. If DOGE is already reducing the federal workforce, why is it necessary to link more federal jobs cut to a shutdown?
Well, the Democrats want to shut it down, so when you shut it down, you have to do layoffs. So we'd be laying off a lot of people that are going to be very affected, and the Democrats, they're going to be Democrats. As you know, this country...
Firing people because of their political party? What? How does that even make sense? Okay.
No country can afford to pay for illegal immigration, health care for everybody that comes into the country, and that's what they're insisting.
Where did this new retard talking point come from, by the way? I always try to figure out, whose brain they took out of a microwave last and inserted it into some Republican talking head. Where did this point of, Democrats want unlimited health care for every illegal immigrant? I've heard this pop up over the past, 2 weeks, maybe? Where did this come from?
And obviously I have an obligation to not accept that. That would affect everybody. When I see what we're doing with AI and all the plants that are opening up in the country, $17 trillion is coming in. If you compare that to Biden had in 4 years less than $1 trillion. We have $17 trillion, more than that. I think it's going to be much more than that, David, by the end of this year. I think it's going to be far over that. It's a record. It's already a record in 8 months. It's a record by a lot. And so we're doing well as a country. So the last thing we want to do is shut it down. But lot of good can come down from shutdowns. We can get rid of a lot of things that we didn't want, and they'd be Democrat things, but they want open borders. They want men playing in women's sports. They want transgender for everybody. They never stop. They don't learn. We won an election in a landslide. They just don't learn. So we have no choice. I have to do that for the country. Yes.
You mentioned a deal with Harvard, Mr. President. What is that deal? Will they be paying the administration?
Well, we're in the process of getting very close, and Linda's finishing up the final details, and they'd be paying about $500 million, and they'll be operating trade schools. They're going to be teaching people how to do AI and lots of other things, engines, lots of things. You know, we need people in trade.
We're going to have AI trade school. What the fuck? Okay.
Because I remember when I went to school, I had some people that weren't particularly good students, but they could take a motor or an engine apart blindfolded and put it back blindfolded. But they weren't too good at other things, and many of them ended up doing better than the people that were. So trade schools are very important, and we've lost trade schools. We used to have a lot of trade schools in this country. We don't have them anymore. We have tremendous plants opening, and we want to have people at top level for those plants, whether it's AI or whether it's automotive plants. You know, we have many automobile companies open their plants in the United States. They're all coming back for two reasons: tariffs, and I think they like November 5th. You know, they liked the person that was chosen, and they're moving in from Canada, they're moving in from Mexico, they're coming in from all over the world. China is coming. They're all coming, and that way they avoid paying tariffs. So, you know, they're coming for that reason. So by opening up trade school, because we're going to need employees, we're going to need people with skill, and I think I can say, Linda, you feel the same way. By opening up trade school, this would be a giant trade school, series of trade schools. It would be run by Harvard. Now, this is something that we're close to finalizing. We haven't done it yet.
Harvard Trade School for AI. Okay.
But they put up $500 million. Interest and everything else would go to that account, meaning go to the trade school. And, you know, it's a big investment in trade school, done by very smart people. And then their sins are forgiven. So we have a good chance of getting that close. Yeah, please.
Thank you. I've been looking at this chart that you showed us earlier since we left the Oval Office earlier. U.S. prices for brand drugs are 422% higher than comparable countries. You know, I'm young, maybe I'm inexperienced, but I think a lot of Americans are wondering, how did we even get here, being one of the biggest buyers?
You got here by incompetent people sitting behind this desk. You had a lot of incompetent people. I did it, as you know. I started it.
A lot of incompetent people. You realize that you were the last president before the last one, right? Like, what are you talking about? Hello?
In my first term, we rebuilt the military. We got the largest tax cuts in history. We did all these things, and we had the best economy in the history of our country during my first term. And by the way, this is blowing it away based on what we're seeing. But we got it by having people allow that to happen. And as you know, I started the process, but then when COVID came, we focused on COVID, not on this. And I said, if I ever go back and do it again, I'm going to make this a primary thing, because other countries are paying a fraction of what we pay for the same exact drug, same exact pharmaceutical, everything. And I said, no, that's not right. And the drug companies actually came along. You know, don't forget, they make 30, 40, 50 million a year, these people. They're very smart. And they had a lot of people convinced that, you know, that's the way it has to be. They talked about research and development. We had to pay. I said, well, why isn't Germany paying? Why aren't other countries paying? And they always had a good answer. But it got to a point where I didn't like the answer anymore. And I said, we have to do this. And we did it. The team that we have with Oz and Bobby and Chris and all of the people that we have working on it. And I must say, Marty's been a big wherever you may be, Marty. But Marty's been a big factor. We have a great team. There's never been a medical team like this. And I said, let's go do it. And then I did. As I said, I would bug them every single day, every week. Because I said, we have to have, why should we be paying 10 times what another country's paying? And that was just an excuse, you know, research and development. We do research and development. So now we're going to be paying whatever the lowest price is, we're going to be paying that price. So it's a great thing. But there won't be anything that can have the impact on Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, anything where you need pharmaceuticals, medicines. The numbers are going to come way down. Even Obamacare, which is terrible, it's not been good, as you know. It's a weak form of healthcare. But it'll be better because the medicine's going to come in at a very low price. Yes, please.
Yes, Mr. President. It seems like every time you assemble your MAHA team and your cabinet members behind you in regards to health issues, it just keeps getting powerful. And I look at these young kids there and the weight that is on the world right now that you can lift by what you're doing. I've often said, Trump could cure cancer and people would still criticize him. And it's true. What is your message to America that this potentially could bring us all together, get us on the same page and have unity? And I'd like to see if some of the kids or the parents have what it means to you to see President Trump get involved.
Well, we've made tremendous strides in cancer research, far more than anyone has done. And we have the greatest minds, the greatest people working on it. And childhood, you know, they call it childhood cancer. It's a very specific thing, and we really made a lot of progress. I think it's something that's going to allow us to make a lot of progress is the money we're saving on pharmaceuticals. We'll be saving 500, 600, 1,000%. Nobody's ever heard of that. I told the story, you were here before, that when I was in the previous administration, my first term, I was so proud of myself because I'm the first president in 28 years that cut drug prices from beginning to end. So they went down, I think it was 1/8% or 1/4%, and I was so proud of that. I thought that was great. Now we're cutting them 500%. And I will say this, politically speaking, the people understand. Otherwise, I wouldn't have won in a landslide. You know, I get 97% bad press, and I won in a landslide, which tells you the press has no credibility. But I will say that what we've done has been a great tribute to the people that stand behind me in different forms. Linda in education, different, but what she's doing in education, she's sending education back to the states. That's a big move. the states, like, you go back to Indiana, Iowa, I would say 40 states will be great. 45 will be, the 5% of them will be pretty good. And then you're going to have Gavin Newsom and some other people that aren't going to do a good job. But, we'll help them out. I want to help them out. And we're going to have safe cities again. We're going to be very safe. We're going to be going to Chicago pretty soon. Because a friend of mine, a great guy, the head of the Union Pacific, he said, "Sir, you have to save Chicago. It's going bad. It's going bad fast, and it's a great city." He's right. It's a great city. I know it very well. And we have to save Chicago. So we're going to Memphis, Tennessee right now. We've had a home run in D.C. You can walk out. Brian, you got mugged here a long time ago.
Yes, sir.
And the mugger must have felt some pain because you're a tough cookie.
Well, he had a gun, and I wish I would have had Triple H with me as well.
If he had a gun, all you can do is say thank you very much. Yeah, no, but it's everybody here. I mean, you were here in the room when I said to the reporters, who got mugged in the last year? And like half of the people raised their hand. Now, if you said who got mugged over the last 60 days, nobody. No killing, no nothing. And the restaurants are booming, the town is booming, it's clean. The National Guard actually went out and started cleaning all the crap out of the parks. The tents are knocked down. We had one that you said it was a blue tent, and you said it was a communist tent, right? See, we're going to have a communist mayor of New York, so let's see how that works out.
And I've gotten a lot of feedback on that. Everyone's very appreciative of you removing that tent.
You told me about a blue tent, and I said, I can't be there because we knocked him down, but this was a very highly sophisticated...
Oh, sorry. I was saying even the question that he just said that he asked was fucking retarded. But how many of you have been mugged over the last year? And then later on, he's like, how many of you have been mugged over the last 60 days? And the 60-day answer was way less than the year. He had no shit. What a fucking even as a hypothetical that I know is bullshit. He's lying about all this. But even the lies he tells are so fucking stupid. What the fuck?
Group of people that had permits and all the other things. Well, the permit expired. We knocked it down. It took, 24 hours less, maybe. Sure. So I appreciate you telling me that. No, we have a great thing going. The country is doing incredible. We are a hot country. We're the hottest country in the world right now.
Do the parents of the kids have anything they'd like to say?
Yeah, that's a great question. Would you like to say something?
I would.
That's a good comment right there. That's the best comment you've made in a long time.
Mr. President, good evening. I'm Josh Armstrong. My name is Josh Armstrong. I'm from West Virginia, and I'm the father of this amazingly brave, resilient little 6-year-old, Laurel. Laurel was diagnosed with leukemia when she was 2 years old, just before her 3rd birthday. And we went on to watch as she spent months in the hospital fighting for her life, as she received blood transfusions and platelet transfusions, as she fought off one potentially fatal infection after another. We watched as her body swelled and became painful from steroids, and then as it became frail and weak from chemotherapy. And we watched and we wondered why there aren't better treatments available. We wondered what might happen if she doesn't get the drugs she needs. We wondered, why isn't anybody doing more? And on behalf of myself and all the parents that have watched and wondered, we'd like to say that what you're doing today gives parents like me and children like Laurel the one thing that we most desperately need, and that's hope.
And Laurel's doing well.
And Laurel is, I'm happy to say Laurel's in remission today.
That's good. She looks so beautiful.
Thank you. She is beautiful.
You feeling good now?
They defund all the mRNA vaccine research because they think it's spooky and scary. And now you can't even get a fucking vaccine anymore without paying $200 for it unless you're old and dying. Yes, my kings.
That's for you.
You look so great.
Because of this bill, doctors are going to be able to get better treatments faster to patients like Laurel. And because of you making children like her real children, not cases or statistics, but children like Laurel and all these children here today, we have that hope. And we are so proud that you're standing with children with cancer and making it a national priority.
Very nice.
Thank you, Mr. President.
We're with you all the way. How about you? Back there, Dad?
Actually, I'd like my daughter to speak.
Oh, I like that.
My grandma would like to speak. She's very
good. I'd like you to speak.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Carolyn Hendricks. When I was 4 years old, I was diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma, a pediatric bone cancer. 11 years later, I'm now 16 years old, and I'm doing great. What you're doing today, Mr. President, means that kids like me will get better options and so much more hope for the future. This will help doctors use technology to find cures faster, match patients to trials more quickly, and give our families more control over our health. For kids, every day counts. This order shows that our lives matter enough to be first in line for innovation. On behalf of children and young adults with cancer, those still fighting and those remission like me, and families who wish that they had more time together, thank you for making us a national priority. Mr. President, because of actions like this, kids like
Dallas, and you just obviously just referred to the church. Did this suspect leave any indication that he was trying to target people of faith, more than the obvious of him doing it to a church on a Sunday?
Well, from what I understand, based on my conversations with the FBI director, all they know right now is this was an individual who hated people of the Mormon faith. And they are trying to understand more about this, how premeditated it was, how much planning went into it, whether he left a note. All of those questions have yet to be answered, but certainly will be answered by the FBI. I think the American people in your audience can be assured, look at the great work that the FBI did in light of, or in the hours and days following the assassination, on Charlie Kirk's life. That was a successful investigation, and that investigation continues. And that assassin was, of course, being held accountable in the court of law now.
At least two big meetings for the president today. One is going to be with the Prime Minister of Israel, Bibi Netanyahu, at which time I understand they were setting out a framework to end the Israeli-Hamas war, but a comprehensive peace for the region. I understand, too, I have a pretty good source that says Bibi's on board. So do you expect there's going to be a press opportunity afterwards? I get it. I know you have sources working very close with Hamas, not with them, but they have contacts directly there. How close is Bibi to saying...
When you get this much in terms of lip filler, can you go underwater anymore? Or are you able to like seal your lips? Or is it always like, do they like explode open and there's like nothing you can do? Or if you were on like a motorcycle and the wind was coming out like a roller coaster, would you be able to keep your mouth closed, or does it always get ripped open? What the fuck?
Yes, how close to Hamas is saying yes? How they let you know?
Very close. It is going to be a very busy day here at the White House. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will be arriving just behind me in just a few hours to meet with the president and hopefully finalize this peace plan. President Trump and his incredible team.
What is this going to be? This, I'll give props to Trump for this, okay? Talk about peace in the Middle East. What is this, the 15th peace plan we have for Gaza, Israel? How many peace plans do we need?
Have been working so hard since he was inaugurated in January and inherited this mess from the previous Biden administration. And the president met with our Arab partners and allies in New York City when he was at UNGA to hear them out and understand their concerns. The administration has been in both direct and indirect talks with Hamas throughout this entire process as well. And of course, the president is in constant communication with our friend and ally, Prime Minister Netanyahu. And nobody knows better than President Trump to reach a good deal, a reasonable deal for both sides. Both sides have to give up a little bit and might leave the table a little bit unhappy. But that's ultimately how we are going to end this conflict. It must end at the negotiating table. The president has made it very clear. He wants to see the killing end. He wants all of the hostages released. And that's why Special Envoy Witkoff drafted up this very detailed and comprehensive 21-point plan and has proposed it to both sides. So we hope that both sides agree. That's the president's expectation. That is his hope. And he'd love to see this conflict finally come to an end and to ensure a lasting peace in the Middle East, just like he did in his first term.
Has Hamas responded to the proposal? If Bibi's on board, we know Donald Trump is. What about Hamas?
Well, those discussions will continue to take place today. I know the president will be speaking to our friends in Qatar who have served as incredible intermediaries between the United States and Hamas, and we've had some direct talks with them as well. So that's always kind of the crunch point, right? We get everyone to agree, and then Hamas has to agree as well. And so, again, this is why we've drafted a 21-point, incredibly detailed plan that we know can be and must be agreeable to both sides. The president wants to see to that.
So, Caroline, I know the president is supposed to be with top congressional leaders today. I've heard that they want more funding for illegals, NPR funding, USAID. That seems like some things that are dead on arrival coming to the...
That's what we're fighting for in shutdown. The Democrats are like, we need all of the funding for illegal healthcare. Please, God, that's what the Democrats want. Like, how can you listen to this as, like, well, they do, but think about how mind-rotted the average conservative is, that they listen and they just, like, agree with that. Yeah, Democrats are probably, they're probably fighting right now for infinite funding for illegal immigrant healthcare. Like, who? Like, keep in mind, you've never in your life seen a single Democratic leader, a single Democratic lawmaker, a single Democratic president. Nobody's fighting for this. Nobody's talking about this. Nobody on the left is actually signaling this. You've just heard it said over and over and over again by these insane people on Fox News.
White House, what can you tell us?
Let me be very clear about the president and the White House's position. All we are asking for is a common sense, clean funding resolution.
Common sense. Oh.
A continuing resolution to keep the government open. This is a bill that keeps the government funded at the exact same levels as today, just adjusted for inflation. So there is zero good reason for the Democrats to vote against this, especially when the Democrats have voted for this 13 previous times as recently as March. And so this is the reasonable and common sense thing to do. The president is giving Democrat leadership one last chance to be reasonable, to come to the White House today to try to talk about this. And now is not the time to try to get political points against Donald Trump. Now is the time to do right by the American people and keep the government funded. Our most vulnerable in our society and our country will be impacted by a government shutdown. Everybody knows this, and that's why Republicans and the president want to keep the government open, and we welcome Democrats to join us in that effort.
So, Caroline, the president usually comes in with leverage, or he always has something, whether it's a country or it's a group. So is he having this meeting just to hear them say, I want this, and he's going to in turn come back and say, I'm not giving it to you? I had the meeting and be done with it? Like, what could he give? For example, could he agree not to have any more rescission packages for 6 months? Could he agree to visit some of these things if they fund for the next few weeks? Can you give me an idea of any give and take that might be on the table?
Listen, you don't have to like them just because they have a lot of likes. You can just keep scrolling. Please stop. Stop.
But look, Brian, the leverage is in the president's hands because the overwhelming majority of the American public
people voted for him. They all voted for him.
Wants to keep the government open. I mean, it's not even close. Democrats and Republicans, independents across the country want the government funded because they want our military and our troops to be paid. They want TSA agents and Border Patrol to be paid. They want food assistance programs for women and children in impoverished communities to continue going out the door. All of that will come to an end if Democrats vote against this clean CR that Republicans are proposing. And might I just add, Chuck Schumer and
I love all the adjectives that they add to things, like the one big beautiful bill, the clean CR, not like the other dirty filthy CRs. This continuing resolution is clean, Kino clean.
Jeffries are on the record multiple times in their past political lives stating that they too believe a government shutdown is bad. In fact, I quote, Chuck Schumer just last year in 2024 said a shutdown would mean chaos and pain and needless heartache for the American people. Well, we hope that Chuck Schumer and the Democrats won't cause chaos and pain and heartache. We want our country to continue to be funded. We want our government to be open so we can continue doing the business of the American people.
Caroline, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah.
Thanks, Caroline.
Yeah. Besides that, not much happening at the White House today.
Very busy today.
Wow. Want even more Fox News on YouTube? Become a Fox News.
Schumer and Jeffries' strong message on the shutdown.
We said to him, renew it so that people aren't.
Hold on. I know it's early, but I need to eat fresh. 1 second.
Hurt, and then we can discuss whatever reforms you want. But you got to renew it now. Yes.
Now that you've presented these issues directly to the president, would you propose or would you support a 7 to 10 day CR?
No.
So there's more time.
No, we have to do it now. The time is a wasting. We have to do it now. We've delayed and delayed and delayed. As I said, as Martin Luther King once said, later means never. They don't want to do this, the Republican leaders, because they're right wing. It'll divide their party. Their right wing hates ACA altogether. But we have to get it done. And the president, the way to do this is the president, who is really listening to us, tells the Republicans to do it.
You make a point about timing.
Yeah.
House Democrats are here. Senate Democrats are here. The Senate is ready to act. House Republicans cancel votes. They're on vacation right now, all across the country, and some are spread out across the world. They're not serious about actually reaching a bipartisan agreement that meets the needs of the American people. If House Republicans were serious, they'd be here right now. And there was no explanation in that meeting from the Speaker of the House of Representatives as to how possibly votes could be canceled. And at the same time, people are supposed to.
Sorry, it looked like I was talking to you guys, but I wasn't. Okay. Again, I was talking to my friend on Discord. Did they have a strong statement on the shutdown, or was this cocked? I couldn't hear. I was in the room.
Believe that Republicans are serious about addressing the health care crisis that they've caused, but simply want to kick the can down the road and expect us to take a Hail Mary promise. That's unreasonable, that's unacceptable, and it's...
Also, I don't know if they've picked up this talking point yet, okay? But listen, the dumbest thing that I saw, I swear to God if they fucking do it. Oh, thank God. Okay, if somebody was right in chat where they said no stopgap funding, I don't know where this thing comes from of like, how about 10 more days so we have time to figure shit out? Excuse me? You've had time. Why do you need 10 more days? Have you not been doing your fucking job? What about all the days leading up to? What about the last 10 days? Like, it's not like this is a magical deadline that just popped up, right? You've known about this since the last continuing resolution was passed, I imagine, right? So how is it that you now need 10 more days? What the fuck? That's what Schumer said? Oh, good. Okay, good. He said exactly that. Thank you.
Discuss whatever reforms.
Okay, we will listen to it. Sorry.
Now. Yes.
Now that you've presented these issues directly to the president, would you propose or would you support a 7 to 10 day CR?
No.
So there's more time.
No, we have to do it now.
Thank you.
The time is a wasting. We have to do it now. We've delayed and delayed and delayed. As I said, as Martin Luther King once said, later means never.
Yes.
They don't want to do this, the Republican leaders, because they're right wing. It'll divide their party. Their right wing hates ACA altogether.
True.
But we have to get it done. And the president, the way to do this is the president, who is really listening to us, tells the Republicans to do it.
You make a point about timing.
Yeah.
House Democrats are here. Senate Democrats are here. The Senate is ready to act. House Republicans cancel votes. They're on vacation right now, all across the country, and some are spread out across the world. They're not serious.
True.
About actually reaching a bipartisan agreement that meets the needs of the American people. If House Republicans were serious, they'd be here right now.
Why can't I pause?
And there was no explanation in that meeting.
They are not serious. That is very true. Thank you. Okay? I have to forgive your cucked Eric Adams statement.
From the Speaker of the House of Representatives as to how possibly votes could be canceled. And at the same time, people are supposed to believe that Republicans are serious about addressing the healthcare crisis that they've caused.
True.
But simply want to kick the can down the road.
True.
And expect us to take a Hail Mary promise. That's unreasonable, that's unacceptable, and it's divorced from reality.
If you ever wanted proof that Republicans want to shut down because they're afraid of this vote, look at when the Speaker scheduled the House to come back in after a shutdown.
True.
We said to him, renew it so that people are...
Thank you.
Thank the leader for letting me borrow his chart for a minute. So he's pointed to each of these bar graphs, percentage of Democratic senators who supported Biden CRSs. Yes, that's...
How many of these involve bipartisan negotiation, though?
That's true. Guess why? In each case, Democrats negotiated with
the Republicans, yes,
and said, let's have a bipartisan bill. The leader says it's a clean bill. It's a partisan bill. Not once were Democrats asked for what input should be in the bill. We were not told about it. We were not asked about it, etc. Nor did Speaker Johnson talk to Hakeem Jeffries. You cannot pass legislation in the Senate when it comes to appropriations unless it is bipartisan. So the leader will say it's clean. No, it's not clean because there was no discussion. Every one of these times I went to the Republican leader and said, what do you need? What do you want? And in many cases, we had to significantly change the bill. One of our bills had aid to Ukraine. The Republicans didn't want it. To avoid shutting down the government, we talked to them, negotiated, and took it out. But not once was there any bipartisan discussion or talk on this bill. We wanted to give our Republican colleagues a chance. That's why some of us back in March said, okay. But we saw what happened after that. We saw a decimation of health care in the BBB. So bad right now that 80% of Americans support renewing the tax credits of the ACA. We saw them use rescissions, pocket rescissions, impoundments to undo what was done in the legislative process. So the world has changed, but that one way it's changed, and there are several, and I'll get to those, one way it's changed is there was no discussion. And we asked to have meetings. Hakeem Jeffries and I asked the leader and the speaker to sit down with us as early as July.
There's no easy way to communicate this, okay? But someone in Kickshot says, seems like both sides have a visceral hate for each other, which is sad. We need to remember that we are all Americans and unify as Americans. We are on the same boat. The real enemies we should use our hatred for are Russia and China. Both sides can have hatred for each other, but I think one side is legitimate and one side is illegitimate. But the problem is that the Republicans have spent so much time creating this wild caricature of a person on the left, and then now they've treated the left like they're that caricature, and now the left is like, well, we kind of fucking hate the Republicans now. I think that the left's hatred for the Republicans, I think is totally legitimate right now. But the problem is that the conservative view of Democrats has been largely fictitious for decades. You need look no further than the fucking, I'm sorry, but that Ben Shapiro Ezra Klein conversation is going to live in my head for like a year, rent free. Okay, planting seeds, growing huge. The roots beneath are going to destroy the foundations of my mind. Listening to him talk about all the reasons why he hates Obama, that's just insanity to me. And like, when conservatives have spent all this time saying that, like, oh, the Democrats are all Antifa, the Democrats are all radical, leftist, crazy people, terrorists. It's like, okay, yeah, no shit the conservatives hate the Democrats. But it's so stupid because they'll be like, oh, you call us fascist? Well, then how can you criticize us for calling you communist? Because when you called us communist, it didn't make any fucking sense. You called Obama communist because of the fucking ACA and because of carbon credits. We call you fascist because you have an authoritarian single-handedly leading the state, single-handedly leading the branch of government that he's in, ignoring court orders, having a vice president who quotes the Andrew Jackson thing, oh, well, they have an order, we'll let them fucking enforce it, right? Who is deploying the military and ICE and other feds across, like, it's not even close to a comparison. It's like, oh, well, if that side's wrong, then both sides are wrong doing it. Well, one side could be more accurate with their assessment, and the other side might be totally fucking delusional.
They didn't. The job of a leader is a bipartisan negotiation. And the appropriators, which he'll say are discussing things. But the two issues we care about, extending the ACA credits, broadly popular with the American people, so they don't want to talk about it, they want to change the subject, and ending these rescissions and impoundments, which would undo what we would do, The four appropriators, when they got down and discussed it.
Seriously, that's a good chat. Randall Sampson. They talk about this like Charlie was the moderate or he was the nice option or whatever, right? When they do that over again, we tried this. He was the nice one, you know? Fuck you. That should apply to Biden. Biden was the nice guy. Biden was the good option. Biden was the guy who came in afterwards and tried to be this president for all of America and reach across the aisle and work with people and passed a ton of fucking legislation, some that the Republicans had wanted to pass for over a decade. Biden was the guy who came in and wanted to work with everybody, be the nicest guy possible to get shit done, and tried not to demonize the other side as much as possible and tried to point out the goodness in the other side as much as he could. Fuck you guys.
They said that should be for the four leaders to discuss. That's what Thune said. That's what Cole said, the Republican head of appropriations in the House. That's what Collins said. That's what Murray said. That's what DeLauro said. They did not discuss it with us at all. So to say the appropriations process is working is wrong. It's not working. It's not working because the leaders wouldn't discuss it with us, as we discuss with Republicans on every single one of these, what should be in the bill and add to the bill. Please.
So the senator from New York, the way that we've done it, and it's a different business model than the one he used, we actually have the Appropriations Committee sit down. And the date that they came up with, November 21st, was agreed upon by the House and Senate appropriators, Republican and Democrat.
Would the Speaker yield? Would the leader yield?
I will. And the Ukraine issue you're talking about wasn't a CR. That was an entirely different issue. So don't throw that into this mix.
It was not.
But
it was
what
not
we're
an
talking
entirely
about,
different
the
issue.
Democrat leader and his colleagues have the same leverage on November the 21st. This is a short-term CR. This is what we do all the time around here, as witnessed by the chart that you're just using there. 24 pages long, funds of government till November the 21st, at which time you have the same leverage then that you have right now, and we have until the end of the year to fix the ACA credit issue. And we're happy, as I said yesterday, and I said on multiple occasions, to sit down with you to do that.
What have you been doing since now? What have you been spending your time on? Like, keep in mind also, even absent Democratic participation in government, these fucking clowns, for the first time, I believe, in U.S. congressional history, like outvoted and lost their Senate majority or their House majority leader. They lost their majority leader chair and they were begging the Democrats to help them vote for another guy to have their majority speaker position again. It's a clown show. It's a fucking joke. How does it even happen? Not in no point in U.S. history has the majority party in the House of Representatives lost their majority speaker chair because they fucked themselves so hard on autistic shit. And then they turned around and even I'm trying to remember what Ben Shapiro's position on this was. I think Ben Shapiro, this was back when he was still quasi-reasonable, because this was like 5 years ago, right? No. This was under Biden, wasn't it? So it might have been like 3 or 4 years ago. Didn't even Ben Shapiro say, guys, we can't look to the Democrats and beg them to vote for our guy, okay? Clearly, like, that's not how this is going to work. I think he might have still been semi-reasonable on that, but oh my God.
Thank you. Now, reclaiming my time.
Nice.
They did not agree to the bills that the leader is talking about because they said explicitly, Democrat and Republican, there are two issues.
And that was, true. And that was McCarthy. And that was over a continuing resolution vote. True. Because they were mad because they thought McCarthy worked with Biden or whatever. Oh, my God.
To the bill.
As I said yesterday, and I've said on multiple occasions, to sit down with you to do that.
Thank you. Now, reclaiming my time.
Nice.
They did not agree to the bills that the leader is talking about because they said explicitly, Democrat and Republican, there are two issues they can't resolve. Impoundments and rescissions and ACA tax credits and health care. And they all agreed, the four of them, that they couldn't agree to a bill until the leaders discussed it with us. We asked the leaders to discuss it with us in July, in the middle of August, at the end of August.
Can you explain the speaker chair thing? Like, procedurally, how did Republicans lose? I don't remember exactly, but I do remember it was either McCarthy or some other crazy MAGA dude. They changed the rules of the House. They did something so that one person could force a vote to oust the majority speaker. I don't remember why they changed this. Was it Gates that did this? Or was Gates the one that called the vote? They changed it so one person could call a vote and then oust the chair. And I think they ousted it because they felt like he worked with Biden on something and they didn't want him to. But then they couldn't agree on who should be the majority speaker afterwards. So I think, how long was it? Was it a month? I don't remember how long it was where they didn't have, where the seat was basically just unfilled. Was it really that long? There's no way it was that long. Was it 2 weeks, 3 weeks? On October 3rd, 2023, the U.S. House of Representatives voted to remove its Speaker, Kevin McCarthy of California, through a motion to vacate filed by Representative Matt Gaetz of Florida, a fellow member of the Republican Party, who was loved by MAGA for a brief period of time and now is fucking hated. I don't even remember what for. Oh, no, wait. I'm thinking McCarthy, actually. Sorry. I don't know if Gaetz is hated. That's not true. I'm sorry. I was thinking McCarthy. This is why McCarthy is hated now. McCarthy's removal marked the first time in American history that a Speaker of the House was removed through a motion to vacate. The vacancy started a process to elect a Speaker that began following an 8-day recess. In the 118th Congress, the 2022 elections formed a narrow majority for Republicans in the House of Representatives. The Freedom Caucus, the most conservative congressional caucus of Republican representatives, secured a minority of these seats. During the speakership election for the 118th Congress, McCarthy faced significant opposition within the Republican conference from the Freedom Caucus, who saw him as untrustworthy and insufficiently conservative. After 15 rounds of voting, McCarthy was elected Speaker, conceding to his opponents, oh yeah, this is how he got the election, conceding to his opponents by allowing any representative to file a motion to vacate. The potential of a government shutdown began to take hold in July of 2023 with the Freedom Caucus in demonstrations of austerity and defiance towards McCarthy, opposing spending bills to fund the government. By September, the federal government appeared poised to shut down. The Freedom Caucus furthered its warnings to McCarthy. They warned him against brokering a deal with Democrats to pass temporary appropriations legislation, asking him to pass an all-year budget with deep spending cuts instead. McCarthy, nevertheless, led the House of Representatives in passing a continuing resolution on September 30th. Its passage was reliant on bipartisan support, but more Democrats than Republicans voted in favor. On October 7th, Matt Gaetz, a member of the Freedom Caucus, filed a motion to vacate. Following an unsuccessful motion to table by Representative Tom Cole, Republican chair of the Rules Committee, Republican representatives debated McCarthy's speakership on the House floor. When the time for debate expired, the House voted to remove McCarthy, with insurgent Republicans and all Democrats present voting against him. The Speaker's chair, thank God, also, good job. I don't think Republican or Democrats ever broke ranks on this. Thank God they never did. Jesus Christ, thank God. I would have lost my fucking mind. I don't think they ever did, right? They just voted for their guy. The Speaker's chair was vacated, and Patrick McHenry of North Carolina, a McCarthy ally, was made Speaker pro tempore, and the House went without a proper Speaker until October 25th. So about 3 weeks. That election of Mike Johnson, an actual evil demon, of Louisiana, McCarthy subsequently announced his resignation from Congress effective at the end of 2023. It's so crazy, dude.
Just in September, they refused. And now he says, give us another 45 days. Well, frankly...
Jeffrey says the most votes for Speaker in history because he got 200 plus votes all 15 rounds.
The Republicans have had 45 days since March. 145 days, another 45 days, another 45 days.
Thank you.
And in the room yesterday, Johnson said he doesn't want to do it at all. He doesn't want to have any compromise. So the time to do it is now. And the idea that we can do it till January, when we talked to the president yesterday, he didn't understand this. But I know that the leader does. On October 1st, in a day or two, millions of Americans, millions.
What does the Speaker do? I don't know. I can't even tell. I'm sure the Speaker probably sets the agenda, decides what votes are allowed to be held on the floor or not, decides what legislation you're allowed to take a vote on or whatever. I'm sure probably does something with appointments or rules or some bullshit, but I think they're basically in control of the overall agenda or scheduling of what goes on in the House. They speak for the majority.
On October 1st, in a day or two, millions of Americans, millions, are going to get notices that their insurance premiums will rise an average of $400 a month, $5,000 a year. A middle-class family can't afford that. We want to renew those credits, among other things in health care, but renew those credits so that people won't pay that horrible...
Sorry, somebody says the majority leader is not the Speaker, different position. Is the majority leader not normally the Speaker of the House? Or are those usually different roles?
Increase. You can debate health care all you want, but the overwhelming majority of Americans...
People said they're always different. Okay, never mind, my bad.
Democrat, independent, and even a good number of Republicans want us to renew those credits. And the impoundment rescission, what does the leader think? That we should go along, come to an agreement, and then let them undo it unilaterally as they've done once and now have asked to do it more? No way. That's not how you deal with this, and we never had another president who did it.
I don't know the sentence. If everything was 50-50 and your job was to unite the people, would you act like you have been in the past 2 months at Destiny? If everything was I don't know what that means.
So I repeat, I love this chart. Democrats negotiated with Republicans. Democrats negotiated with Republicans. Democrats negotiated with Republicans, and on through the whole chart. Didn't happen this time. Leader Thune did not come once to me and say, is this bill acceptable? What do you want in the bill? So they call it clean. We call it extremely partisan. Not one discussion, House or Senate, between the two leaders. That is not how you negotiate. And that is not how you pass appropriation bills. And the Appropriations Committee is stalled by their own admission because the leader will not come and talk to us about it. Now, let me make a few other points. Republicans are heading us into a shutdown. We stand at the precipice of a government shutdown because Republicans are not serious about keeping the government open. If you want,
you also have to ask at some point, how is there so much fuckery with Trump as president over and over again? The massive protests, the riots, all the political violence, the government shutdown. Somebody said in chat earlier, if this shutdown lasts for 11 days, then the government will have been shut down under Trump longer than every other president combined in U.S. history. Like, this guy, remember, it's not even what Democrats called him. What did he call himself? The great deal maker. This is the great deal maker? Has basically no legislative accomplishments, the most divided America and Congress of all time, and can't even keep the fucking government funded? How?
One glaring instance of that, Speaker Johnson sent his people home. They're home right now, even though the government will conclude at midnight. There's only one conclusion you can draw when the Speaker sends the House home, that he wants a shutdown. He doesn't want to negotiate. All they want to do is force us, try to bully us, and they're not going to succeed, into taking their partisan bill, take it or leave it. That is not how this place works. And that's why we're headed into a shutdown, because Republicans refuse to negotiate a bipartisan bill that deals with the health care needs of the American people, which they care about. Yesterday, Leader Jeffries and I went to the White House to meet with the president and Republican leaders about finding a way out of this impasse. It was a frank and candid discussion. It was long overdue. As I said, we'd asked for it for months. We asked the president to meet with us when Thune and Johnson wouldn't. He said yes. And according to all reports, Johnson and then Leader Thune, who just followed what Johnson wanted, said don't do it, and the president withdrew. So on Friday, I called Leader Thune and said, let's have a meeting, and we did, but it's at the last minute. There's still a chance. It's only the president who can do this. We know he runs the show here. And he's got to say to our Republican colleagues, deal with this ACA issue so that people don't get $400 premium increases. Deal with this impoundment and rescission issue, which when we told him about it yesterday, he seemed not familiar with it, but now he knows. And we can solve this problem. But Johnson won't, Thune won't, and so the president is not going to be able to persuade them unless he tries at the last minute. That's the only hope here. Look, sitting in the room with the president, it was very clear that the president hadn't fully grasped the magnitude of the disaster he's causing when the government shuts down. As health care costs go up, as people lose their health care, rural hospitals are already closing. Speaker Johnson in the room said to me they're not, and I pointed out to him that Tim Kaine just informed us that 3 rural clinics in Virginia, Southwest Virginia, were closing.
Wait, hold on. Wait, I just looked this up. Am I crazy or am I misunderstanding? The Speaker of the House is the presiding officer of the U.S. House of Representatives. By custom and House rules, the Speaker is the political and parliamentary leader of the House, and it's simultaneously its presiding officer, de facto leader of the body's majority party. So the House Majority Leader is the same thing as the Speaker of the House? Or am I misunderstanding? Or, like, right now, is there a different House Majority Leader? Who is the current House Majority Leader? U.S. Congress. Oh, no, it's Steve Scalise. What the fuck does the House Majority Leader do? And is the de facto leader of the body's majority party, as opposed to the de jure. What is the actual, the actual leader do? They whip votes? One is for the House and the other is for the Senate? What? Well, no one's talking about the Senate right now. They just whip votes. What was wasn't Nancy Pelosi usually the Speaker of the House, or am I crazy? And didn't she also whip votes, or is there like a formal vote whipper? You can do both. Which is party leadership structure? Oh, okay.
And the head of those clinics said it's because of the bills the Republicans passed. The so-called BBB, which we know is not beautiful. The American people know it's not beautiful. And so they know, our Republican colleagues know that the American people are fully behind us when it comes to lowering costs, but also when it comes to health care and making sure that those premiums don't go way up. And then I spoke to Speaker Johnson directly in the room. I told him, because he can't debate health care, because he knows it's not the American people are on the side of wanting these increases, even Republicans, I told him to stop making up stories that too many Republicans are lying through their teeth. They say, oh, the Democrats want undocumented immigrants to get health care, to get the federal dollars of health care. That is utter bull. And they know it. The law prohibits undocumented immigrants from getting payments from Medicare, Medicaid, or the ACA. There's no money, not a penny, of federal dollars that are going there. So why do they bring this up? Because they're afraid to talk about the real issue, which is health care for American citizens, health care for people who need the health care and can't afford these premiums. Let me say it again. Undocumented immigrants cannot receive premium tax credits by law. So they should stop these lies and address the real issue, which of course they're afraid to do. A standard Republican MO. A standard Republican MO is to make something else up because the American people are on our side. Now, this week, here's what House Republicans sent out guidance to their members. They said, quote, not to make the message about health care because Republicans lose that argument. They're right. Their position is callous, malicious, unpopular. So they're not only refusing to talk about health care, but apparently when they do, it's only to spread
lies,
misinformation, to spread.
Look at how stupid, look at how stupid our current politics are. The White House tweeted, was this an hour and a half ago? The Democrat Party wants open borders, transgender for everybody. What the fuck does that even mean? Men competing in women's sports. 2 trans things, 2 out of 5 are going to be about trans people? Okay. Crime and lawlessness in our streets. Yes, Democrats advocate for that a lot. And cashless bail policies over the safety and security of our nation. What does this even have to do with a federal bailout, continuing resolution budget, or anything? What the fuck are we even talking about? Base.
Red lies. I said this to Speaker Johnson in the Oval Office yesterday. I told him it was total bull, I think that's the word I used, to say that we want undocumented immigrants to get federal benefits, that it can't happen by law, and nothing we've proposed in our bill changes that. He sort of smirked, that's it, because he knows the truth. He knows the truth. And they're lying to the American people, these Republicans who use this, because they know how unpopular their position is. Kaiser Family Foundation poll, 75% of Americans support extending the ACA premium tax credit, including 63% of Republicans. Republicans have chosen the losing side of the health care debate because they're trying to take away people's health care. They're going to let people's premiums rise. And this idea that we can do this at January, no. The notices go out October 1st as to how much increase people will get in 29 states, and they only have a short time, long before January, to decide, are they going to drop their health care because they can't afford it? Are they going to take a lesser plan where they pay more with deductibles and co-payments? Or are they going to keep that plan and cut back on buying a car, going on a vacation, or worse? Republicans have chosen, simply put, folks, the Republicans have chosen the losing side of the health care debate. Losing side. And in the White House meeting yesterday, Speaker Johnson made it perfectly clear he didn't care if people's premiums should go up because his conference is against it. And so again, the House isn't even set to come back until October 7th. You tell me which side is actively manufacturing.
Why is there no active, huge pushback from mainstream media and people in general about illegal alien health care? Republicans hijack the narrative. Well, Republicans will talk about it on the right. Or I'm sorry, they won't ever address it on the right. I don't know what the left fucking media does. They just fucking cuck out to the conservatives all day. I don't know what they're talking about on CNN or anything right now.
During a shutdown. Why did the House do that? Because they wanted to negotiate? I don't think so. They wanted to jam it through, but they're not going to be able to. Yesterday, during a House Republican conference, Representative Lisa McClain made it explicit. She said, don't talk about health care to her Republican colleagues. They don't want to talk about it, so they make these other things up, facts out of thin air. So the Republicans have until midnight tonight to get serious with us about solving this crisis and keep the government open. But right now, they're not even talking to us seriously. They're sort of in la-la land. And then on another issue, related. Yesterday, the president posted an offensive deepfake AI video of Leader Jeffries and me, with sombreros, fake music, impersonating my voice through AI, it wasn't me, talking even more lies about health care and immigration. Listen to this, America. Hours away from a shutdown, which we don't want, the American people don't want, the president is busy trolling away on the internet like a 10-year-old.
True.
And that's exactly why Americans are going to blame him if the government shuts down. That's another proof point as to who is to blame. His video, Johnson going away.
What? Play what? Oh, the AI video? This thing?
Look, guys, there's no way to sugarcoat it. Nobody likes Democrats anymore. We have no voters left because of all of our woke trans bullshit. Not even black people want to vote for us anymore. Even Latinos hate us. So we need new voters. And if we give all these illegal aliens free health care, we might be able to get them on our side so they can vote for us. They can't even speak English, so they won't realize we're just a bunch of woke pieces of shit, you know, at least for a while until they learn English and they realize they hate us too. Look,
remember, all of the subhuman moral, loser virtue signalers, okay, like your Ben Shapiro's and all these people that are supposedly ethical and moral and religiously compelled to act in certain ways will all laugh and giggle at shit like this, and they will never fucking call it out because they are spineless cuck fucks. They are the most cucked, spineless fucking losers in the history of all of cuckoldry kind. The most morally depraved, opportunistic, cancerous fucks in all of American society.
And adjourning the House still next week. We have less than a day to figure this out, and Donald Trump is busy tweeting deepfakes. It's not like he's in touch with reality. He's in a bubble.
True.
He doesn't understand that if the government shuts down, people's health care premiums will go up. When we told him about it, Hakeem and I, yesterday, by his body language, he seemed not even to be aware of it, of the ramifications. If the president was smart, he'd move heaven and earth to fix this health care crisis right away. Because Americans are going to hold him responsible when they start paying $400, $500, $4,600 more a month on health care. So we have less than a day. If there was ever a moment for Donald Trump and Republicans to get serious about health care, it's now. But even right now, even this morning, even here on the precipice of this crisis, the president would rather troll on the internet and lie about health care than tell the truth and get to work. So that's why the polls are abundantly clear that Americans will hold Donald Trump and Republicans responsible if the government shuts down. Senate Republicans could stop this crisis now. The president should get on the phone with Leader Thune and the Johnsons and tell them to work with Democrats to fix the crisis before it's too late, and work with Democrats to fix our health care crisis. Let me just say once again, we tried over and over and over again to meet with the Republican leadership. They said no. The appropriators said they couldn't resolve the issues until the leaders met. So we asked the leaders to meet again, and they said no, because they didn't want to negotiate. They wanted it their way or no way. Their way or no way. That's not how the Senate works. If Republicans cause a shutdown, they'll probably keep lying and distracting because they know we're on the side of the American Democrats are on the side of the American people. But we will continue to focus on health care. And the American people will be completely on our side. Yield the floor.
Yield.